Hey everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. In this video I want to talk to you about goal setting. It's something I think about every single day, and I keep myself anchored towards accomplishing goals that I set out for myself in the beginning of the year for my reselling business. Now, I'm doing this video focusing it on the reselling aspect, but everything I'm really going to talk about are things that you could apply for other goals that you have in your life, such as other personal goals. Maybe they relate to physical fitness, maybe they relate to diet, maybe they relate to relationship building. You know, whatever the case may be, you could use these principles to apply them to your life to try to accomplish those goals, set the goals, and make sure you're monitoring yourself and reevaluating yourself in terms of whether you're really on the way to progressing towards accomplishing them. So the first basic step that you need to do, obviously, is you need to set the goal, right? That's obvious. So when's the best time to do that? Well, you can set a goal anytime, but really the best time of the year to set a goal is the beginning of the calendar year. And we're getting to that time, which is another reason I wanted to do this video now, to give you some time to think about it, because we're towards the end of October, so you got a couple months. Start thinking about what it is that you want to accomplish for yourself in 2019. In other words, you're setting up yourself for some type of resolution that you want to accomplish. Now, people are famous for setting themselves up to, try to accomplish some type of goal or resolution. That's the easy part. But what people often do is they stick with it for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then it's all of a sudden it's gone. It's by the wayside. A few little bumps in the road happen, and they don't get themselves back on track. And then when the end of the year happens, they find that they haven't accomplished the goal. And then they set another goal, and the same thing kind of happens over and over. There's a lot of people who are in that boat. You may be listening to this and telling yourself, yep, I've done that before. And we've all done that to a certain extent. But, you could learn from those experiences and keep yourself disciplined, and that's a big important key, is the discipline aspect to making sure that doesn't happen if you're really motivated and you set the goals up properly. And what I mean by that is these goals have to be things that are realistic. So for example, if you tell yourself, and I'm going to go away from reselling for a minute, because one of the most common things people set themselves up for in terms of a goal, it has to do with going to the gym and exercising and that sort of thing. So someone will say, well, I'm going to go to the gym every day during the week. So that sounds great, and that may even sound easy to do, but when it comes to implementing it, not so easy, because there's going to be a lot of things that pop up that sometimes interfere with it. Well, maybe you're not going to feel good one day. Maybe you're going to have something that keeps you at work really late, so you can't get to the gym that next night. And so then as soon as you have a failure, it's easy to feel that, I had a setback, and now you just don't get yourself back on that routine. So routine is something that's real important. It has to be a goal that you can set yourself up for, so that you can establish a routine, and that routine is somewhat easy to implement if you're motivated to do so. Not one that's easily disrupted. Instead of setting yourself up so that you're doing it every single day, you want to add some flexibility into the goal. So don't be so rigid with the goal. Make sure you add a little wiggle room in there. So instead of saying I'm going to go to the gym every single day, tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go to the gym most days during the week. So there, instead of every day, you've got every day during the week, you've got 4 out of 7 days. So now you've added weekends into there. Now maybe you don't go on the weekend, because you only got to go 4 days out of the 7, and that's great, right? Because you're going most days, so that'll make yourself feel good. But give yourself a little wiggle room. If you don't feel good one day, if you just don't feel like doing it, or something just pops up, you're too busy, well, okay, I'll skip this day, I'll go the next, but I'll go 4 out of the 7. For me, what I'm doing right now is a YouTube video, okay? Now, I like to try to do a YouTube video every night, but I know that it's not always going to be realistic. Sometimes things are going to happen, are going to pop up with my other, schedule, and I can't always do it. So I try to do one, like I said, with the physical fitness goal most days during the week. Now, that's something that I do related to reselling. Now, there could be some other goals that you set for yourself that it is realistic to try to do something every day, but you have to leave yourself, again, even with that, a little wiggle room if you sometimes just go off of it because something just pops up, some type of extraordinary circumstance that doesn't allow you to do it. So one of the most common things in the reselling community is people say try to at least list something every single day, either on eBay or Poshmark or Etsy or wherever it is that you're reselling. You try to do that. And, you know, for the most part, if you set that as a goal, that's something you should be able to fit somewhere in every day. If you don't accomplish that goal for some reason, something pops up, you know, your kids get sick, maybe you have to run to the emergency room or something, you just couldn't get to it, have something built into your system that you could kind of make up for it. So in other words, the next day when things free up, try to put up 2 listings instead of the 1. So, you know, try to get yourself back on track that way to make up for the goal. Now, some goals is not really, you know, as possible to do something like that where you're making up for it the next day. You know, for example, if it's that you said you were going to go to the gym and go on the exercise bike for 45 minutes, well, going the next day for 90 minutes probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So, you know, with certain goals, you know, you can't really do that, but with other ones you can, and you know, that's a good example for the reselling one, because that's a common one that comes up, is making sure you're listing something every day. Now, another thing that's important besides making the goal realistic is to make sure that it's something that's measurable. You have to be able to measure the goal. So if all your goal is I want to start an eBay business, or I want to start an Amazon FBA account, and I just, you know, I want to make some sales and I want to make some profit during the year, well, that's just too general. I mean, it's not specific enough. You want to have something that you could measure yourself towards, that you're accomplishing. So as an example, you know, when I started this YouTube channel the beginning of last year, you know, to help promote best reselling practices and just to get out there in the community and interact with other resellers, my goal was, one, it was realistic. It was not to overtake the Rockstar Flippers account, or to overtake the number of subscribers that Steve Rakin or Craigslist Hunter has. And that was not my goal. My goal was just to be me and do my own thing and set up my own channel, and, you know, to build up a network of people that I could interact with and relate to. But I did have a goal that I wanted to get to 1,000 subscribers. And so you saw that in the beginning of this year, me focusing on that a lot. You know, let's hit 1,000 subscribers, you know, come make sure you join, make sure you subscribe. I mean, I was pretty relentless in terms of pursuing that. And as a result, that was something that I wound up accomplishing 3 months earlier. I wanted to get it done by December, and I got it done by September. Same thing with the Facebook group, my Facebook group, the Reselling Resource Center. I wanted to get 1,000 subscribers there, and I've gone way above and beyond that within a year. We're at 3,500 in a year. So make sure it's even the goal itself that you're, the goal itself that you're setting to measure, that also has to be realistic. Like if I would have set the goal that I want 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel in a year. Now, there's some people that may have been able to accomplish that, but, you know, I didn't really think that was realistic. So set a goal that if you go over it, you know, you're happy, but don't set yourself up so that it's going to be unrealistic to attain it. Now, 1,000 subscribers, for example, on YouTube isn't unrealistic, or if you can't relate to me what I'm talking about with YouTube because you don't have a YouTube channel, if you're thinking financially of a goal that you have for yourself, for example, let me relate to you on that. One of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to set myself up so that I could make over $6,000 in 2 months, so over $6,000 in 60 days on eBay, because that accounts for about over $100 a day, $100 a day or more if you go over the 6,000. And for the longest time, in the beginning, before I set that goal, I was languishing at around 2,000. And so I set that I wanted to get to the $6,000 mark. And when I set that goal, I said to myself, that's great to set that. I think it's realistic to do because I've seen other resellers do it who are individual sellers. They don't have a whole company behind them supporting them to do this sort of thing like myself. I'm doing this pretty much like most of you by yourself with a little bit of help here and there from your spouse, but primarily doing it by yourself. I felt that it was a realistic goal to accomplish, but I had to set up a plan on how I was actually going to do that. So I had to make sure I increased my listings. So I used that +1 strategy that I've talked about before. Make sure that you're always increasing the number of listings that you have every day by 1. That's something I could measure and make sure that I do. So if I have 150 listings today, well, the next day I need to make sure I have at least 151. I could go over that, but I need to make sure that at least went up by 1. So you have to make sure that you're also, doing other things to accomplish that goal. You either have to be listing more items if you want to sell more, and you have to be selling more items, obviously. So you have to sell more items at a lower amount, like more $10, $20 items to get to that goal. Or you have to sell more bigger priced items. Now, you don't obviously have to sell as more bigger priced items as smaller priced items if you have a good enough margin on it. So, for example, if you could sell a $100 item, one more $100 item a day, and you're making $80 profit on it, well, that's more time efficient than selling 10 things that are $10 that you're making, $8 a piece on. So it's just a more cost efficient way of doing it. So you have to set up systems for yourself so you could actually go out and accomplish that goal. And lo and behold, when I did that and I applied myself to that, it didn't take too long before I hit that $6,000 mark, and now I'm over that. I've even gone into the $7,000 range, and now I have goals to set myself up to get to that 10 grand mark, and that would be a nice accomplishment as well. Total amounts of money that you bring into your business, that's another good goal to have for yourself. You want to reach that you've earned $10,000, for example, by the end of the year, or $20,000 or $30,000. Set up realistic goals that you could build off and push yourself. Okay, so if you have a goal, for example, in terms of the number of listings that you want to have up, you want to have up 150 listings. That's great. You accomplished that. Now bump it up higher. You want to get to 200, or you made $6,000 in 60 days. That's great. Now push yourself. Now you want to get to 8,000 or 10,000. At a certain point, you might run into limits in terms of what you could actually accomplish by yourself. If that's the case, you have to stop, reevaluate, and you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to do that? What is stopping me? What is preventing me from getting to that goal? I'm not getting there because, for example, my workflow is not efficient. I'm spending too much time searching for boxes. I'm spending too much time looking for where the tape is, looking for where my items are. That's sucking up a lot of my time, and it's preventing me from getting listings up. If that's the case, then you have to stop, reevaluate, and you have to come up with a plan to address that problem. That's why I did some recent videos about completely revamping my whole box setup system and the way I have my whole shipping area and packing area, and it's much more efficient now. I spend much less time on it. Or for example, if it's taking you a lot of time printing out labels and cutting them out and that sort of thing, maybe you want to invest in a thermal printer so that all you have to do is peel the label off, put it right down. Maybe you're running upstairs all the time to get the label off of the computer, and it's good to think about reconfiguring your workspace so that you have the printer right near you, so you could just pull it off, go, boom, grab it. Come up with a new inventory system so you file things more efficiently so you can find them quicker. All these are things that you need to think about when you're trying to figure out, why am I not accomplishing my goal? What is going on? So you have to be able to be accountable to yourself, and you have to be able to stop, reevaluate, and then come up with a plan and be honest with yourself in terms of, why is it I'm not able to accomplish this thing? What is actually preventing me? For me, I was initially having some difficulty getting to that $6,000 within 60-day mark, and what I started to do, I was watching a lot of videos from Craigslist Hunter, and I was learning how I really needed to make sure I got up some items that were just bringing in more money within one sale and more profit within one sale, as opposed to selling more of the smaller items. So I focus in my eBay store to make sure I have some of those bigger ticket items priced there so that I could get to that goal easier. So, similar thing for yourself. You need to, again, just stop, reevaluate, and, figure out how to get where you need to get to. Hold yourself accountable, and sometimes you need someone in your life to help you hold yourself accountable. That could be a friend. That could be people in a reselling group. So our reselling resource center group that I run, that's you can see that down below in the description section. One of the group members who I know is watching this video, Laura Cohn. Hey, Laura. Laura's very big on goal setting and set something up on Tuesdays now in the group that people list their goals and they say what it is that they're trying to do, for example, within the week, and you could have other people within the group try to hold you accountable to making sure that you get there and kind of motivate yourself to that. Sometimes just writing the goal down can also be helpful, something you could see that you look at, and it's just kind of on your mind every day. Yeah, I need to accomplish that, and hopefully when you accomplish it, you could cross it off the list to get that feeling of accomplishment. So that's something you could do. It's real important to accomplish goals, to getting there, that you're obviously motivated to do it. It has to be something you want to do, and to help you stick with that motivation, you have to set yourself up with a routine. So it's got to be something that you're set to do every day. So for example, from my YouTube videos, I set it up as a routine that I pretty much try to make sure I get one done every night after everyone goes to sleep. So once the kids go to sleep, once my wife goes to sleep, Mrs. Primetime, I have free time, quote unquote free time, to do whatever it is that I want to do. And one of those things that I've worked in is just part of my routine. You got to make it that, you pretty much tell yourself you have to do it. If you don't do it, you almost feel bad about it, if you don't do it. So that doesn't mean you can't give yourself a break every once in a while, but you definitely want to set it up so that this is something that you are getting yourself into, that you're doing almost every day, if not every day. I mean, listings, I barely ever miss a day where I'm putting listings up. I mean, I can't even think of one. I mean, it has to be like, pretty much, even when I'm on vacation, what I do is I take pictures ahead of time before I go on the vacation. So I set myself up for, if I know I'm going to be gone Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that I have pictures of listings I could put up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't have the items physically with me, but I photograph them. They're all set. And then all I do is I list them while I'm away, when I'm just kind of have some downtime, that sort of thing. So so that's something important. Whether or not you want to use an app to make sure you're measuring your goal is totally up to you. It's not mandatory, but there are people who like to do that, and there's tons of apps. What you should do if you're interested in an app for goal setting is actually just go on to Google and type in goal tracking app. That's it. Type that in, and you're going to see so many different options of apps. It's mind-boggling. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. Some of them, there's, well, first of all, a lot of you use Google Calendar. Google Calendar actually has a goal-setting section within it that you could use, so check that out. There's one called Momentum. These are different apps you could look at. There's one called Strides. There's one called Productive. There's one called Streaks. There's one called Fabulous. There's one called Coach.me. That one actually has a community associated with it that helps you accomplish that goal. So there's lots of them out there that you should check out, and just figure out which one is the best overall fit for you, which one you like. There's ones out there that actually keep track of what your goal is with graphs and charts. So you see people who have fundraising goals. They have that little thermometer, and they're trying to get up and up and up to reach the goal. Those are cool things that you could set up for yourself, and you could do things like that, and that could be helpful. For me, I was talking about this last night. I didn't do a YouTube video last night, but what I did instead was I did a live Instagram video for about a half an hour, where I was talking to to the people who just joined in. One of the things people ask me is, someone asked me is there any particular metric that I look at all the time on my eBay account to make sure that I'm, hitting a goal? And really the main things I look at is how many listings do I have, how much money am I bringing in, how much revenue am I bringing in. Now I know my revenues are profitable because I source low, but you do maybe want to track that if you're sourcing things for higher amounts, is how much actual net profit you're making. So that's something to keep in mind too. I'm looking at how many subscribers I have on my YouTube channel, how many subscribers I have on my Facebook group. I mean, these are things I'm all monitoring. But in terms of my eBay sales, one of the most important things that I like to look at, especially if you're trying to grow your business every year, is when you go to my eBay and you click on that and scroll down a little bit, it's going to show you how much money you've brought in this month compared to last month, and this year compared to the prior year. Now, of those two, the most important thing you want to look at is how much you are bringing in compared to last year. Don't focus so much on the month, because month to month with any business, things can vary. So you want to look more at the bigger picture, which is 1 year compared to last year. Because if you are at the same amount of money in your business this year compared to last year, then by definition you're not growing. Now, for some people that might be okay. You want to just stay static. You're happy bringing in, for example, the $6,000 every 2 months, and you just want to stay at that clip, and that's comfortable for you and that's good, then that's okay. But if you're in, if one of your goals is to grow your business and to expand it, that number has to go up. That number has to be, that's a way to check yourself and say, okay, hey, let's look, let's see if are things, am I making more money in my business this year compared to last year? If so, if you're 20% above, 30% above, certain points this year I was over 100% above where I was last year, then you could, feel comfortable that you're, accomplishing that goal and you're getting there. But if you're at, 1% or you're in the red, you're behind a little bit compared to where you were last year, you've got to stop and think, and you've got to reevaluate. You've got to say, wait, I can't keep doing things the way I'm doing them right now because it's not working. And I can't emphasize enough how much that's important to reevaluate and admit to yourself sometimes that you've got to change. And you can't make those improvements unless you develop that insight that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with your workflow. There's something wrong with your process. There's something wrong with the way you're going about doing it. And you have to be open to other suggestions and ideas. That's why I also cannot emphasize enough why it's important to talk to people and be involved in the reselling social media community. Just get yourself in a good group like the one that I run, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, where you could feel free to ask questions and not feel like you're going to get your head bitten off when you get replies. That's what my group is like. So come by there, ask a question. If you have something that you're curious about, how do I do this better? Go somewhere where you're comfortable, where you can ask. Ask people who are knowledgeable. Reach out to some sellers privately and ask them behind the scenes. How is it that you're doing this? For example, I'm still trying to figure out how exactly to run the live show properly. So I had a nice video chat with Casey the Rockstar Flipper to talk to him about how exactly to set that whole thing up properly so I don't have some of the kinks that I ran into the last time. Don't be embarrassed or feel inferior or anything like that because you need to get help or you need to, get some advice. That's fine. So I just want to pass those things on. I mean, that's really the basics of it. There's other things. I mean, this isn't like meant to be a comprehensive video on goal setting, but just to hit you up with the basics. Again, make sure your goals are realistic. Just to recap, make sure there's something that's measurable. Make sure you're motivated to achieve them. It's something you want to do. It's your goal. It's not someone else's goal that they have for you. It's something you actually want to do so you could be motivated to accomplish it. Set up a routine. Set up a process that you reevaluate yourself, and and in some cases you may want to get an app or something like that to set yourself up to make sure you're monitoring yourself properly. Last thing I'm going to mention, I said an app is something that's optional. You don't always have to have an app. For example, I don't use an app, but I just have it drilled into my head every single day. Make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're putting up a listing. Make sure you're doing a YouTube video. Make sure I'm checking my stats. So if you're the type of person that, can self-monitor yourself like that and just constantly be thinking about your goals, and you're super duper motivated to do it, then you might not need an app. I mean, sometimes people like having that visual in front of them, and so that's better for them. And so it's up to your personal style, but you just have to do what works for you, and what you think is going to make you the most productive. So I hope that little video is helpful for you. If you have ideas and suggestions regarding goal setting, please make sure you leave that down below. I appreciate seeing your comments. You may have ideas and suggestions I haven't even thought about yet. So I definitely welcome that. Again, another plug for the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. Come join that group down below. It has a lot of information that's relevant to this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can help me accomplish my goal of getting up to 2,000 subscribers. So we're on our way towards that. Come over to my Instagram account. I mentioned that earlier. That's @prime_time_treasure. As I try to rebuild that account, that's a new account that my old one was taken down, unfortunately, and so I'm trying to get back up to my 1,200 subscribers. So that's a goal of mine. It's a good example, actually. I'm trying to get there rather than trying to get all 1,200 all at once, which is unrealistic. I'm trying to go up by 10 a day. If I go up by 10 a day, setting those small measurable chunks, I'll get there in a relatively brief amount of time. I mean, it'll take me a few months, but I'll get there. So just make sure you sometimes try to chunk your goals out like that into small mini steps, as opposed to trying to get it all done at once. And that's another way that can help you getting towards those goals. So anyway, I hope to see you at these different forums that I'm on, and like to interact with all of you. So again, any comments, questions, make sure you leave them down below, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, everybody.